finally going to cover it where autism and ADHD come together. AUDHD, pronounced AUDHD, probably not. Now, this is a paradox, as I like to call it. It's the difference between somebody who craves novelty or a brain that craves novelty with the same one that craves routine and the person being stuck right smack dab in the middle. So let's go over the two basics here, right? So ADHD craves novelty, desires things that are new, that are interesting, and has a lot of, hey, this is interesting, I like this, I like this, I like this. So various different interests, and there is a flexibility in a sense with change and being allowing to like new experiences and having an ability to change different environments that comes in direct conflict with autism. Autism is a brain that likes order, that likes symmetry, and likes a state of calm. Everything is noise to an autistic brain that is different from what they expect. If things deviate from the expectation of a brain with autism, it's going to get into kind of a dysregulatory state where it feels like I am bothered, and unless things are in the way that I want it to be or expect, this is the major point, expect them to be, then I can finally feel at ease and I can proceed with the things that I want to do. Now, how do these two things conflict? Let's take studying, for example. So brain with ADHD will say, I want to study or I have to study, but I get distracted by this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing and that thing. And so it's very hard for them to study unless there are limited distractions, and there is a place in which they have just, it's them, the books, and what they're going to do, or they introduce novelty into their studying techniques, and then eventually they can hyper focus to a certain degree until they get a distraction, or maybe they think of something, or maybe they feel something in their stomach, oh, I gotta eat, and now it goes on the tangent. Now, a brain with autism, when it wants to study, I want to study. I'm focused on studying. I have to study because I like the subject. I need to do well on this topic because I want to do it. However, I have to do 3 things later on today, and I won't be able to give the studying my all unless I complete those 3 things first. So what ends up happening is they start doing those 3 things first, and then they feel like, oh, something else came out. Now they're bothered. Now they don't even want to study. They won't feel so confused. I like to think of it as a brain that has a table full of stuff, and they want to work on one thing. They can't just put the one thing down and start working on it. They have to clear the table first in order for them to feel like, okay, finally I can pour my focus into this one thing. And this comes to direct conflict because routine and change and routine. How does the brain figure out what to do? Well, you got to understand and you got to put that brain into an environment in which it can thrive. This thing is really bothering me, by the way. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trying to cover the grass here. So it's going to come into a direct conflict. So if it's treated properly, so there is room for psychopharmacology for this. So let's say somebody gives a stimulant to somebody who has autism and ADHD. Usually what ends up happening, depending on the class of stimulant, so if it's a methylphenidate, I found in my patients, especially the ones that have autism and ADHD, they get more disgruntled, they get more dysregulated, even though if things are going well, they actually feel lighter and brighter. But oftentimes things don't go well, right? So they may have 1 good day, 2 good days out of the week because things are going well. But when things are unexpected, when they do get agitated, when they do get dysregulated, whether it's sensory overload or things not going according to plan, they feel bothered. And when they do feel bothered, it's actually worse than them not taking a stimulant, which gets us in trouble. So I'd like to use more Vyvanse and longer acting versions, but on a lower scale. Because if you were to treat somebody who has autism and ADHD with a high dose of the Vyvanse, it kills off the ADHD perspective. And the ADHD brain aspect helps out the brain with autism because it introduces that fun with novelty. So this is why they're difficult patients with autism and ADHD. I'm not going to say the word together because I really don't know how to pronounce it. If you guys want to let me know how to pronounce that damn word, AUDHD, AUDHD, I'm not saying it a full acronym out loud. Anyways, if you were to treat a brain that has autism and ADHD with a high dose of a stimulant, it removes that, and then the protective nature of like, oh, it's fine, it's spontaneous, I'm okay with change goes away, and the person becomes more autistic. They lose that sense of novelty and the ability to kind of adapt to certain changes, and they become much more focused on that one thing. And so it actually ruins social situations in which the ADHD brain could actually been protective in certain senses. So what do? I generally go low dose of the Vyvanse, and then I also introduce guanfacine or clonidine. These are medications that reduce the noise. And the noise that I'm trying to reduce is the background noise in the body, the dysregulation. So what I've learned from and heard from my patients when they are treated this way is like things that piss them off, they can see coming, right? It's just like I can see the rage bait, but I'm not taking it. I'm not bothered by the things I used to be bothered by before. And number one, also when you take it at nighttime, they're finally able to sleep without and turn off their brain without having to smoke weed, take 10 edibles, or like wait until 3 a.m. and then take forever to wake up because it just takes a while for them to kind of get regulated. So the combination of the two really helps out. Additionally, again, my practice is called psychiatric motion movement. It's the single most important treatment for anything psychiatric, anything mental health, anything to do with humans being alive, just first and foremost. And so those are the two things that I kind of introduce. And then if a woman has premenstrual symptoms, then you got to do like a little bit of a low dose SSRI just about the time where they notice the symptoms coming up when they have their period. So usually about a week before, and then they can end it that day. And then for some of them who have been misdiagnosed or diagnosed with borderline personality or bipolar disorder or something along those lines, I usually just add in the low dose Abilify or Vraylar. Abilify I'm falling out of love with because people tend to gain weight, even though they tell you don't gain weight on Abilify, you do. Vraylar is also called Criprazine for those not in the US. It's good. It just requires insurance hassles. It's kind of annoying. But for the most part, when people know their brains better, so like when I explain it in this way, when I tell them what's going on and they see the results, I'm like, oh, hey, hold on. Okay, now I know what's going on. And we conceptualize and we coach through things. And let's say they talk me through social situations. Let's say I talk them through all the different interactions they've failed to see how it ties together. And then they go on, remembering all the conversations that have gone wrong, all the social situations that have gone wrong, all the things that they have done wrong and how they're very different because they've never felt that way before. Once those things start to click, there's a new way of understanding their brain that comes to fruition. And when that comes to fruition, you better watch out for that person with autism and ADHD because they're about to take over the world, right? And that's kind of where I want my patients to be. A place where they understand their brain. And I do the same for everybody with OCD, with ADHD, with depression, and kind of like the inner voice. Once you understand the way your brain works, and instead of taking it personally, that's not your personal downfalls, it's just not having the optimized environment for and understanding how your brain works. When those two come together, you'll be unstoppable. All right, so this is a 7+ minute video. If you made it this far, good for you. If not, save it, watch it later, save it to a friend, and I'll try to put some captions in here. All right, take care.